everyone, thank you for joining me today. This is Melissa for Bello's Designs. Today we're going to be talking about how to make alcohol ink tile coasters. I'm going to show you different samples and ways to create these. Before going through the list of what we're going to use, I'm going to show you what some of the examples are that we're going to be making. So these two are alcohol ink through a stencil with the alcohol blending the dauber tool. So this is just a tool that's got some felt fabric on it. And these samples here are various ways with different types of inks and embossing techniques to get a stamped image on top of your tile coaster. So these coasters are all 4x4 square, shiny, finished tiles. So they do well with the alcohol ink, but for stamping, it's really hard to stamp on them. So those are the tiles that we'll be using. And on this example, I did the alcohol ink, used to stamp with the alcohol lift. And on tiles, I don't really recommend this. It's very difficult to get a good image. It smudges, works better on Yupo paper, but it does work if you have good practice with it. This one is also done with the alcohol lift. And you can see that it barely picks it up and it ends up smudging quite a bit. So this one, which is just rather simple, I just went over the whole entire surface with the green, and it's got a gold flake in it that you probably cannot see. So for this lower image, I stamped it with just the stamp and archival ink. And then on the top, I stamped it with VersaMark, and it is heat embossed. Personally, my favorite way is to emboss. It doesn't come off, it stays on. It takes quite a while. It takes probably 2 to 3 minutes for the embossing powder to melt and adhere. But you can stamp using archival ink because it dries quickly. If you try to stamp with your VersaFine Clairs, they do not dry. I've done these a couple of days ago. I touched one that I did just as a test, rubbed my finger across it, and it just made a complete mess. So you have to use a good, quick drying, permanent ink. So this one is also done with embossing powder. This is done with black puffet powder, so it gives it more of a raised surface, and it's not as fine of powder as just your regular powders. We're going to make one today with some glitter embossing powder. We'll show you how that works, some metallic, and some clear. So I'm going to set these off to the side for now. Okay, so the supplies that you're going to need to make a tile. With alcohol ink, recommend wearing rubber gloves, and you need to be in a well-vented room. The alcohol is kind of hard on your breathing. For alcohol ink cleanup, you're going to want to use some isopropyl alcohol, 91%. You can also use this for your blending with the inks. So we have that. You're going to need an anti-static tool, very important on alcohol ink if you're going to emboss. And then I have some VersaMark watercolor stamp ink pad. We're going to use Wow Super Fine Clear Gloss, and I'm going to use that over some VersaFine Clair, and this is Glamorous, just so you can see that you can stamp with this, emboss with it, and still have the color. Of course, you'll need a stamp block. For the back of the tiles, you can just, this is just a piece of felt fabric, and we will just glue that on with some glue. You can use hot glue or just your favorite glue. And then I just have some alcohol inks here, just some various ones. I have alcohol inks by Ranger. This is Dandelion and Coral. And then I have one that is the Alcohol Pearl that has the mica in it, and Honeycomb. And then I have Wild Plum, Mermaid, and a Rose Gold mixative that has the mica in it. I have Alcohol Blending Solution. I have just a couple of stamps that I just picked out, some flower stamps. I find that stamps that are not such a silhouette are easier to work with. Also, Kamar varnish by Krylon is what you will use to fix the tiles when we're finished, so it doesn't rub off, scrape off. I'm not going to be showing you how to do this. This needs to be done outside. This is, you don't want to breathe this. It's very harmful. You want to do it outside in a well-ventilated, warm area. But this will keep the finish on your tile so you can use them. They can be washed off, and it won't wash off the alcohol ink from your tile. Okay, so let's get started. So I have here just a white tile. And first of all, I'm going to show you how to use it through a stencil. So I have just this Lavinia Stamps Flower Mask Stencil. I'm going to place that down. We're going to be using our blending tool here. And for this method, you're just going to take your ink and put on a couple drops right on the felt. Doesn't take a lot. And this gives you that nice kind of crackled effect. Also, I forgot to mention, take your tiles, just take some rubbing alcohol, or the isopropyl alcohol, and just give them a good clean to get all the dust and debris off. So with your alcohol tool, just hold your stencil in place, and I just dab it on and just push it down through your stencil. And just take your time and just push it down through. carefully lift that off. And there you have it. You still have your pattern. I don't know if you can see. With the rose gold, it has some sparkle and some glitter. So we're going to set that to the side and just let it air dry. It dries rather quickly. So for now, my stencil, I have all this alcohol ink on there. That's okay. All you have to do is grab some paper towel or a baby wipe. Works good. Use your alcohol. And it'll just wipe off. And you might get some staining. It won't affect anything. Okay, so there you go. All clean. So remember, you want to clean your products. If it's an alcohol based, you clean it with alcohol. If it's water based, you clean it with water. Okay, so our next one, we're gonna do a little bit different. We're gonna swirl our inks on and use the stamp. So for this one, I'm going to use 2 inks, and this one has the powder mica in it, so shake it up. And I'm going to put on some blending solution in no particular order. Alcohol inks are just fun because you don't know what you're going to get. Let's put them on. And it'll spread. And you can just swirl it around. And if this purple one is not really moving, you can just add some more of your blending solution. And that'll lighten it, it'll make it move. And I'm just dripping it on just really carefully. You can also use an air tool, make it move more. You want to get your surface so you don't have these harsh lines. Makes it easier when you're stamping if you don't, because it gives you that texture and it makes it more difficult to stamp. So my purple is almost all gone. I'm just going to add a little bit more. And the thing with alcohol inks, if you don't like it, you can just keep playing with it. And it'll just keep moving. The more you add, the funner it becomes. And it takes a little practice. Oh, it looks pretty cool. It's very different. Trying to get it to where you can see it in the light and the sparkles. Okay, so we're going to set that off to the side and just let that dry for a moment. and then we'll come back to it and stamp it. So here I have another one. This one's not real clean yet. So I'm going to set that off. I'm just going to put a little bit of alcohol and just give that a good clean, gets all the residues off. Okay, and this time we're going to use coral. And we're going to do one color at a time. And I'm going to do this with the heat tool. So you can see how that just moves around. And we can just let it run off. So you get that nice swirl, and I'm going to dry it. That looks pretty. Just the way that is. So it's really kind of nice just like that. I kind of like that. I don't think I'm going to add the yellow. So we're going to just go with that one. Just going to leave it. I'll set it off to the side and let it dry. And because this is just so much fun, we're just going to make another one. So if you're working on a glass mat, makes your cleanup really easy. If you're using one of the just craft mats, they work, but it will stain. Still works fine. It just know that it will stain it. So I'm gonna kind of do the same process as the last one. I just want a yellow one as well, so I'm just gonna put some yellow inks on there. So I'm using honeycomb and dandelion on this one, and I'm going to add just a little bit of the mermaid. And just let it swirl about, mix together, and see what you get. It's kind of hard to plan with alcohol inks because they do what they want. If you have a lot of practice, you can make beautiful flowers and different things, but I cannot show that on the video. Okay, now we're gonna just kind of such a pretty effect that it gives, though. Okay, so that's that. Now we're going to go on with our stamping. I'm going to come back to the first one here that we did. And this is the one that's got some gold and some purple. Purple's not really shown on camera, but it does have some purples in there. Okay, and now we're going to stamp this one, and I have the Lilium flower from Lavinia Stamps, and put it on our stamp. So this one we're just going to heat emboss. We're going to go over it with our anti-static. Decent good coat there. And ink up with the VersaMark. And this is the tricky part. You want to make sure you're good and stable, or it will slide. So just be very careful. Press down just like you would stamp normally on paper. Just give it a good press and make sure you're very steady. Hold the tile in place and lift straight up. And now I'm just going to grab paper. Okay, and this I'm using the Persian Indigo by Wow. And this has a lot of glitter in it. So just give that a good coat. And tap off your excess. Set that to the side. Okay, so there's our image. Now with your heat gun, I'm going to emboss this, and we'll see how long it takes. Okay, so that took just over 2.5 minutes to emboss that image. So just be very patient. Don't touch it to see if it's melted. It will burn you. Okay, so now we're going to move on to this green one. And I'm going to stamp it using the new Bluebell flower. And this time we're going to use the silver. This is regular silver metallic by Wow, and it's a pretty fine powder, and it doesn't have any glitter or anything in it, but it's metallic itself, so and once again, just with our embossing VersaMark pad, give it a good coating, and Straight down, good press. Try not to rock it. And straight up. It's a pretty good image there. This back into our pot. Back in our muslin. So that one went a little bit faster. Didn't take quite as long. And it has a nice, shiny, solid image. Careful, your tiles will get extremely hot. So be very careful. Okay, and now we have this coral colored one. And this time I'm going to show you how to stamp with the VersaFine Clair ink and then emboss over that because it stays wet for quite some time. Just grabbing another flower stamp here. I will have all the stamps and everything listed in the description below. I didn't have this predetermined, I just set out a bunch of stamps. Okay. So, I think, okay, very, very slippery. And I forgot to do my powder. So I'm going to stamp this twice. Will this go? Kind of turn it at an angle just a little bit. Maybe we'll just go ahead and do one in the center too. See different levels of height at different angles. Okay, so you can see that there's some color on there. And then using the clear embossing powder, this will adhere to this VersaFine Clair ink. You'll still be able to see the color. Take your sweeping brush and you can brush off that excess. And so this clear is the Wow Super Fine Clear Gloss. I prefer the Super Fine for any of the stamps that have a lot of the details. This is more of a line stamp than a silhouette, and it gives a better impression. So go ahead and get my embossing gun going. So this is a much lighter color. Very pretty. So we'll give that a second to cool down. And I'll show you how I finish these. So this is back to the first one that we did through the stencil. And it's solidly dry. So now what you would do is go outside, take your Kamar varnish, comes in a spray can, and you can get this in the craft stores. I bought this one at Walmart in the craft department, and you will just shake this can. Follow your directions. It says shake it well for 2 minutes, hold it 10 to 12 inches from the surface, and just spray over in a sweeping motion. Takes about 15 minutes for it to dry, and about 2 hours you can handle it. Just give this a nice good light coat, and that will protect your surface and it will protect your inks from coming off. And then take a piece of your felt and glue that down onto the bottom. I recommend that you do finish it first before gluing it, and then that'll give you a good protection, won't slide around, and then you'll be able to use it, place your glass on. I think they would make a really, they make really cute gifts. It's a fun way to use your alcohol inks. So there's a set. I'm going to make another one like this to match, and I'll have a set of 4. And then I have a set of 4 all different colors. And this one is one I made previous. It's just blue, and then it has the vine, and it's stamped with black, or excuse me, it's embossed with black embossing powder. So I hope you guys enjoyed that today, and I hope that'll give you some inspiration to try out something different than just making cards. Thank you. As always, if you like this video, please hit the like button, subscribe to our channel for more interesting and fun tutorials. If you haven't done so already and you do Facebook, follow us on our Facebook groups. Del Bello's has 2. We have the Del Bello's Designs Lounge for the Lavinia stamps, and we have the Del Bello's Designs a la carte for the other stamps and other crafting supplies that Patty sells in her shop. So thank you very much. Have a great day. We'll see you real soon.